Hello and welcome to No Crown in Heaven for Bible knowledge, studying Genesis verse by verse. We are in chapter 31. We are in chapter 30, and we're going to go start from verse 25. Last episode, we talked about the life of Laban and how Laban grew up in a house that believed in God. He speaks of the Lord, the Lord, the Lord, the Lord, and believe in the Lord, yet his life doesn't reflect that. He had idols, he worshipped idols, he used divination and witchcraft. So we are going to go through the same event that Laban went through from Jacob's side, from Jacob's perspective. It was an employer and an employee, or a master and a servant. Laban was the master, Jacob was the servant. So we're going to go over that, and we're going to see how that affected the life of Jacob. So as we know the story, Jacob went to Laban to get a wife for himself. He offered to serve 7 years as a dowry to marry Rachel, and after 7 years he was deceived. Leah was given to him as a wife instead of Rachel, and then Laban asked him to serve another 7 years in order to have Rachel. And now he finished his 7 years, and he's going to ask Laban to leave. So let's go through the story and then the study. Verse 25 in chapter 30. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away that I may go to my own place and to my country. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know my service which I have done for you." And Laban said to him, "Please stay if I have found favor in your eyes, for I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for your sake." Then he said, "Name me your wages and I will give it." And from this point, Jacob will give his resume. Jacob was ready for this moment. His plan was already in place. So he already had served 14 years. Now he owned nothing. And he's telling him, "I need to leave." He really was not ready to leave, because if he leaves, he owns nothing. He served this 14 years and everything belongs to Laban. He doesn't owe any flocks or anything. So Jacob was ready to this point to tell him. So he knew in advance that Laban will ask him to stay, because he is being taking care of his flocks and knows that Laban needs me. He knew it. And it's apparent because Laban is willing to pay him whatever he would ask for. So he's going to give him his resume. Verse 29. So Jacob said to him, "You know how I have served you and how your livestock has been with me. And he's going to tell him, when I came, you have your flock was very little and now it's huge. And everything I have done for you, I have done it. I worked in the night, I worked in the hot summer, I worked in the cold, I worked in the rain. I did not bring you a slaughtered animal or the stolen. I replaced them, all that. So he's like giving him his resume. And then he's gonna tell him, Laban will tell him, you just tell me what you want, I'm gonna give it to you. Laban is desperate because he knew if Jacob leaves, he's not gonna have the knowledge and the practice to take care of his flock, and his flock now is very large and healthy. He needs Jacob. And Jacob now is in power. He's in a stronger position than 7 years ago or 14 years ago. And then Jacob will tell him, you don't need to give me nothing. I'm not gonna ask for money. Just let's do this. And he's gonna give him a plan. The sheep and the goats that are speckled or has stripes, those will be mine, and the rest will be yours. And Laban will agree. Obviously, he had a plan in advance, in place, how he's gonna breed and how he's going to make his flock now he has his own flock grow stronger and bigger, and the flock for Laban will start to be decreased little by little. It's going to take 6 years. So when it comes to how Jacob did this, in verse 37, it starts to explain the breeding process that Jacob did. Now, Jacob obviously already been doing this for 14 years. And he probably was doing this when he lived in his father's house back home in his country. Because when he met Rachel, he already was knowledgeable about taking care of flocks, and he was telling the people who are waiting at the well, why you're wasting your day? You should be taking your flocks to the pasture and feeding them by this time. And so he had knowledge. So, and now there is an extra 14 years of experience dealing with the flocks. He knew how to breed them. There is ways to breed. I do breed rabbits, but I breed them for meat. So I am not really concerned about colors or the color of the eyes. There's some rabbits come with red eyes, some rabbits come with black eyes or dark blue, and different colors. And the colors of the rabbits also come different. It depends on how you breed the buck and the doe and how you breed that. There is certain people I know of that they breed in a way to bring certain colors into the rabbits and certain colors of the eyes. So they can sell them as pets, and they will be like cute pet. But there is ways to control the color of the offsprings of certain buck and certain doe and so forth. And it goes back to generation after generation, and you can continue to breed this way and enhance your flock generation after generation. It keeps these good traits continue to become more evident and in more numbers. So obviously Jacob knew that about the sheep and the lambs and the goats, and he used that. So there is explanation how he used to get rods and peel them and put them in the trough when they come to drink the water. This is the time the breeding happened, when the rams will come and the breeding would happen, and these striped, the peeled striped rods had some effect on the female goats and sheep to bring those colors in the offsprings. So by doing so, he increased his flock. He increased his flock in numbers, but also he would see a stronger female does or female and stronger male that are going to breed. He would put the rods in front of them, so the ones that come with speckles or stripes or whatever, or spots, they would be strong. When he see that those are feeble or weak, he would remove that thing, so they will come out plain color, and that will be for Laban. So he knew what he's doing. There is a secret that we don't know, I don't know, but the way he bred these flocks controlled the number of offsprings that are speckled and striped, and the strengths of them, the good traits that become more healthy and healthy generation after generation. So that's how he did it. And now come to verse 43, the last verse in chapter 30. Thus the man became exceedingly prosperous and had large flocks, female and male servants, and camels and donkeys. So we go to chapter 31 now. That was what happened during the 6 years that he served after completing the 14 years, and tell him, let me go, and he tell him, stay. So this was his plan. His plan was, I'm gonna tell him I'm gonna leave, let me go. He's gonna ask me to stay, so because I'm very valuable employee, so he cannot continue without me. And he had all this plan in ahead of time, because if he didn't, he would have not made that offer, give me, the speckled and stripes and spotted ones and all that. Now let's go to chapter 31. 6 years later, after he's been doing that year after year after year. Now, verse 31. Now Jacob heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what was our father's, he has acquired all this wealth. And Jacob saw the countenance of Laban, and indeed it was not favorable toward him as before. So this is after 6 years. They trusted him with their flock, and they're like, what's going on here? You know, all this wealth came to him from our flock. It was the agreement, so he didn't steal anything. He used his knowledge to gain wealth. So in a way, he was dishonest toward Laban, because Laban trusted him with his flock, and he intentionally made his flock feeble and less in numbers for Laban's. And on the other hand, what comes to his side was the strong ones and larger in number. So in a way, he was trusted by Laban to take care of his flock, and Laban ended up with a feeble, small flock. I cannot see it a different way. However, that was, in a way, he's getting even with Laban, because he was supposed to serve him 7 years, not 14. He served 14 years for free, for nothing, just to get the 2 wives. But he didn't ask for 2 wives, he asked for 1 wife. He asked for Rachel, and he was deceived by having Leah. So he's trying to get, I served 14 years, I should have served only 7 years. Now, this is a controversial, because it has a debate here. Did God bless Jacob while he is actually deceiving Laban, or not a good steward on what he was trusted with? Or this was just his own work? And that question I have no answer for. God will never use deception or any wrongdoing in any way to take from somebody and give to someone else. That is not in God's character and God's attributes. Some people said that was the way God blessed Jacob, but I cannot see it this way. However, let's continue reading and get what God is doing here. Now he sees that Laban's countenance he's not happy with him. And then God speaks to him at this point. Verse 3, then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers and your family, and I will be with you. Now he's like, it's time to go. God's telling him it's time to go. God met him on the way 20 years earlier told him, I will be with you, I will bless you, your descendant will inherit the land, and gave him all the promises that was given to Abraham and was given to Isaac. He gave him all the promises, and he said, if you give me food and clothes and bring me back safe, then the Lord will be my God. So he made a vow, but the vow was not a commitment to worship and the Lord will be my God, but the vow was, you do this God first, and then you will be my God. You take care of me first, then if you bring me back safe, I will worship you. That was his attitude 20 years ago. And now God is telling him, it's time to go back. He's being changed gradually throughout these 20 years, being tested and being refined by God through Laban's treatment to him, being deceived, being forced to work extra 7 years, being, as we will see, that Laban treat him harshly, change his wages 10 times, and all that. So he is being practically crushed to continue in this journey to faith, and God will bring him to his knees in chapter 32. We'll see that. So God told him, it's time to go. So now what he's going to do, he's going to call his wives, Rachel and Leah, to the field so they can speak in secretly, in private. So the voice will not be heard. And they tell them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not favorable toward me as before, but the God of my father has been with me. And you know that with all my might I have served your father. Yet your father has deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, but God did not allow him to hurt me. So it was kind of like he is breeding the flocks in a certain way to increase his own flock, decrease Laban's flock. Laban on another side keep deceiving him, changing. You tell him this is your wages, and no, I have that happen to me. And in the past, I was working for a certain company, and they would make goals to make, so in order to get incentives above your salary, you need to meet certain goals. And they will set the numbers of these goals in the beginning of the year. And we will probably meet these goals, but they come in the middle of the year and they will say, we changed these numbers. So by the end of the year, you find yourself, you already met that goal, but they changed it, so you don't get any incentives. That happened. So that's the way that Laban was treating Jacob. So it's like, he changed my wages 10 times. That's how it was going. So the two wives will tell him this, will tell him, we don't have any inheritance with our father, so we don't care. Let's just go. Whatever the Lord tell you to do, let's just do it. And they tell him, didn't our father sell us and spend the money that he got from us? Because obviously when somebody come to marry and they offer a dowry, a lump sum of money to the father of the bride. The father should keep that money saved just in case that the man divorces the wife, send her back to her father's house, so she would have something to live on or to live off. But with Laban, the dowry was Jacob's service, so there is nothing saved for them if that happened. So they said he sold us and spend it on himself. That's what it means here. Now, Jacob will tell them about a dream that he had, that God spoke to him in a dream. So let's read that part of this passage. Verse 10, and it happened at the time when the flocks conceived that I lifted my eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the flocks were streaked, speckled, and gray-spotted. Then the angel of God spoke to me in a dream, saying, Jacob, and I said, here I am. And he said, lift your eyes now and see all the rams which leap on the flocks are streaked, speckled, and gray-spotted, for I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed the pillar and where you made a vow to me. Now rise, get out of this land, and return to the land of your family. So that's a very important passage, that God speaking to Jacob. Is it the same time that's recorded in the same chapter earlier in verse 3? Then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your father and your family, and I will be with you. Or a different time, we don't know. Bottom line, God's telling him that, you need to leave. I seen how Laban treated you. You need to leave. And here he said, I am the God of Bethel, where you anoint. So God is reminding him with the vow that he took. So he gained all this wealth by his own plan. God did not intervene. Now God is telling him, you need to go back, and reminding him of the vow. You vowed to worship me if I give you food, give you clothes, and return you back safely to your land. So you have the food, you have the clothes, and you have all this wealth. Now go back. Safe is the one that's going to come to chapter 32, to go back, safe, without being harmed. That will come when when he's about to meet Esau, his brother. So God will deal with him in chapter 32 to bring him to change him from Jacob to Israel. And then the wives will tell him, about all that, our fathers sold us and we don't have any inheritance. Whatever God tells you to do, just do. And they will just pack and go. Verse 21, so he fled with all that he had. He arose and crossed the river and headed toward the mountains of Gilead. Laban was away shearing his sheep, and it's going to be 3 days before he find out that Jacob left, took everything and left. So he's going to start to pursue him. And in his pursuit, his intention is to harm him. His intention is to take his daughters, take the children, take the flocks, take everything, and let Jacob go home empty. That's Laban's intention. But God will appear to him and change that. We talked about that in the last episode. So Laban's intention was to harm Jacob and take everything back and let him go without his wives, without his children, without his flock, everything. He has the power, and we talked about this in last episode again, but we'll talk about it again, that God appeared to Laban and told him, be careful to speak good or bad to Jacob. So God warned him, don't. Although he worshiped idols, but he knew of God, he did not live according to God's way, but God spoke to him to protect Jacob. Even Laban told Jacob in verse 29, it is in my power to do you harm. That's saying, I can hurt you. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, be careful that you speak to Jacob neither good nor bad. And it's going to be a situation where Rachel has stole the idols. He's going to accuse Jacob of it. He's going to search all the tents. He's not going to find anything because Rachel will lie about her situation, and she sit on the camel's furniture, and she would say, I cannot get up. She hid all these idols there. Anyway, and then Jacob will start rebuking Laban about this false accusation and about the treatment, changing my wages 10 times and all that. And then it's going to come to verse 43 when they're going to start to make a covenant together. So in verse 43, and Laban answered and said to Jacob, these daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and this flock is my flock. All that you see is mine, but what can I do this day to these my daughters and to their children whom they have borne? Now therefore come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be witness between you and me. He's still claiming that everything belongs to him. He still have that sense of entitlement. Those my daughters, and you're my servant, and the flock is my flock. But what can I do about it? The only reason he say, what can I do about it? Because God warned him. Be careful to speak good or bad to Jacob. So he feared God's punishment. He didn't fear God, but he feared God's punishment if he would disobey. But he still, after all that, think that everything belongs to me. And they will make a pillar by stones, and they call it a heap, and they will make the covenant, and all that before the brethren, which is Jacob's sons, and probably, each one of them has servants. So all these people are witnesses of this covenant. But the covenant, in reality, what it means, you go your way, and God sees your way to treat my daughters. That's from Laban's side, and it's between you and God. And from Laban's side, that I go back, and so you go your way, I go my way. It's a kind of a separation. The covenant is not what we do in the future, but it's a divorce between both of them, Laban and Jacob. It's not really a covenant to treat each other good, but it's a covenant is, let's just make that divorce. I don't come your way, you don't come my way. That's what it is. Let's read that verse 52. This heap is a witness, and this pillar is a witness, that I will not pass beyond this heap to you, and you will not pass beyond this heap and this pillar to me for harm. That is the covenant. It's a divorce covenant between both of them. Don't come to me, and I don't come to you. Let's just forget about it, depart, and I don't want to see you anymore, and you don't want to see me anymore. That's what the covenant is. And all that because God had protected Jacob by appearing to Laban. Now, when it comes to chapter 32, that will be a different next episode. We're going to go to chapter 32 and the encounter with Esau and the encounter with Jesus. Between these two will be the final change that will happen in Jacob's life. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. God bless you, and please subscribe.